Namaste. Welcome to the Shaman and the Mermaid, and we're here to bring you our astrology weather report. And this is for the full moon cycle in Gemini, which is happening on Wednesday, December 11th. It's totally full at around 10 p.m. Denver time. And we're going to take you all the way through Christmas Day, which is the new moon and a solar eclipse. And all in between, we have some themes going on, and Katrina will tell you about that.
Well, the overarching theme is choose wisely, and that has a lot to do with the Gemini energy that the full moon is in, and we'll explain that in just a second. But the other reason that we're going with choose wisely is because there's a lot of squares and then trines and squares and trines, which give a lot of stop, pause, go, flow, stop, pause, flow, go. And in those stop, pause, there might be, it's critical to make some wise choices as opposed to the negative side that you could go to. So we'll talk about that as well. But I think going back to full moon in Gemini, maybe, Michael, you could give a little information about Gemini.
Gemini is the sign of information, of communication, of technology. It's connected to the planet of Mercury, which is transmitting, moving. Mercury has wings on his little ankles, and he can fly between the underworld and the overworld, sharing information. Important to note that the sun is in Sagittarius still until the solstice, and so the sun and the moon are opposite of each other. So Gemini to Sagittarius is the axis of information to wisdom. Gemini is information, Sagittarius is wisdom. So the full moon, which is our emotional selves, is in the energy of information, and the sun is in Sagittarius in the sign of wisdom. And so we have this playoff between what seems to be dual. Gemini is a brother, two brothers. One is immortal and one is immortal. And so the whole Gemini thing has to do with the polarity of things, or opposites, or seeming opposites of things. Hot, cold, left, right, up, down, male, female.
Bad, good.
Bad, good, challenging, hooray. And I think the deepest teaching of Gemini might be that the duality is an illusion, but we need to find the balance or center point. It's like the yin-yang or the bindi in the center of a circle.
Really well done. So part of what he's talking about, that duality, we brought in some visual helpers in the form of handwritten signs to give you a little bit more clarity of what those dualities are with some of these planetary aspects. So the full moon, right away, is the big aspect. That's why we're doing this report, is to talk about that. It's in that sign of Gemini, so the two brothers, or the twins, Castor and Pollux. One is in that immortal plane, one is in the mortal plane right there, the spiritual versus the human aspect of our being that, having that tug of war. And the moon itself, its dualities, when it's in its balanced right way, it would be emotional intelligence. When it's being tugged to its more lower vibration energy, or its lower self, it would look like childish outbursts. So when we're feeling the pull of this full moon in Gemini, choose wisely that emotional intelligence, and just keep at bay some of those temptations for those childish temper tantrums that we don't have to be childlike to experience, or a child's age to experience. We can be grown adults and have these childish temper tantrums or outbursts. So have that in mind, that there's a little bit of that flow on this particular full moon, and we're in the juice of it right now on the 11th, but it'll be into the 12th as well, so those 2 days. And speaking of the 12th, we have Chiron, the wounded healer, going direct. You want to talk about Chiron a little bit?
Chiron is a dwarf planet, and there's actually many dwarf planets in our solar system. Eris is one, or another one. But Chiron has been in retrograde since pretty much the very end of June, the 1st of July, and now on December 12th it's going direct. When planets change energies from seemingly going backwards to direct, when they get to those last critical degrees, it's intense. And so lots of energies around Chiron, which is the wounded healer, may be coming up. And just to add to it, Chiron, just before this report, a day before or 2 days before, squared Jupiter. Jupiter is coming in and making a challenging aspect to Chiron, and so here is the energies that may be playing out.
So again, that top line for these two particular planets shows when they're in a harmonious, positive flow to each other, when they're in the highest version or balanced version of itself. And the bottom line would be its lower vibration or less, we don't want to go there, right? So Jupiter, when it's in its highest way, is expanded consciousness, and Chiron would be in its healer mode. Jupiter and its lower vibration energy is Over Indulgence, and Chiron would be the victim. So the square that's happening between these two, they're in a challenge to each other. There could be a combination of these things. We want to take that upper line and make this happen during this next time. And this is going to be for a couple, 2-3 weeks, this influence happening throughout everything we're saying. So keep this in the back of your mind, that part of that choose wisely is to have our expanded consciousness as healers and not to go into that overindulgent victim mode. And overindulgent, sometimes we think of just as like food or drink. It can be overindulgence in martyrdom, in that victimization, in laziness, shopping, going Amazon crazy. So keep this as this is a flavor happening for the next 2 weeks. Backing up the truck, so all of that flavoring was on the 9th, and then on the day of the full moon, the 11th, Venus and Saturn are going to be what we call conjunct, or seemingly right next to each other in the night sky. So if you take these two, saddling up next to each other, so whenever they come together, they double their potency. Like whatever Saturn has and whatever Venus has, and coming together, it's making it doubly strong. So in right way, or choosing wisely, our Saturn energy and our Venus energy would be very judicious, fair,
good path, red road.
Good path, red road, yeah, taking that higher road. And Venus, when it's in its highest way, is self-love, is love in general, it's prosperity, abundance, it's being in our highest value system as well. When Saturn is in its lower vibration, or you're not choosing wisely your Saturn energy, it looks tyrannical or controlling or manipulative or a little false. Yeah, sure. And then Venus in its lower vibration looks like selfishness, or the bottom line to it all is fear. So fair love and tyrannical fear are the choices on this conjunction time. And of course, we're going to be pulling for judicious self-love, being fair to yourself, and using that Saturn wisdom. Saturn is home in Capricorn, and we said that's the wise. Well, I guess we said Sagittarius is the wise one too. Capricorn too. Capricorn, Sagittarius, Capricorn, all the way over to Pisces is the transpersonal planets, and they are the wiser, higher road, the upper chakra thinking. So they're all going to play a part of that wisdom piece.
Sagittarius is your wisdom, and Capricorn is how you're going to use it.
Yeah, great. That's a good way to say it. So this conjunction coming together, these two planets, is happening December 11th on the full moon. I'm confusing you. Full moon day, this is also happening. So choose wisely on those upper ones. And then the next thing that's happening on the 13th, where I was going anyway, was the connection. Venus is going to move from Saturn and then go saddle up right next to Pluto. So then you kind of piece together, what is Pluto? Well, Pluto is your soul's purpose, what you're here to do in the highest good for the highest, greatest good for the greatest amount of people, right? And when it's not in its highest way, it looks like an ego trip. You're all about you. And it might not be things that are healthy for you. It's things that are just what you desire, regardless if it's good for you or not. That's what you're seeking. And then when it's saddled next to Venus, your soul purpose is for love. So this is a really beautiful day to remind ourselves, why are we here? And these two are coming together to say a lot of it. Venus is what you value, Pluto is your soul. And then if we're making a wrong choice or a negative choice, it's going to be an ego trip and selfishness based in fear. So that December 13th day, when these two planets are coming together, seemingly from our perspective in the night sky again, they're not, of course, next to each other. We want to be choosing this higher purpose of focusing on my soul's purpose is love. My soul's purpose is love on December 13th. Okay, and then after that we have the Mars Neptune trine. So a trine, you want to explain trines?
Trines are things that are harmonious in astrological weather, and by harmonious meaning, like, you know, if you play some music and it sounds like it's working together well as opposed to dissonant, that's kind of the flavor of it. It naturally goes that way, and there's less effort to make it happen.
Correct. Yay. So we have a trine, right? These two are trining, Neptune and Mars. So Mars is, when it's in its highway, it's taking initiative. It's going forth and doing something to get something done, to take a start. And when it's not in its highest ways, it takes that power that it has, and it's usually destructive. It's using its power to destroy. And Neptune, when it's in its highest way, it looks like spirituality or having faith in something. And when it's not in its highest way, it looks like delusion or escapism. A lot of our addictions fall under this category of Neptune in low vibration. So they are in trine, or flowing together, or in harmony with each other. So on that same day of the Venus-Pluto conjunction coming together, December 13th, is this really nice flow to take initiative towards your spirituality or towards your faith. Do something to ignite your spiritual practice. Maybe this is a day that you start your sadhana, or spiritual practice, meaning you begin a gratitude journal, or you do a 5-minute morning meditation to start, increasing it by a minute each day, something to that effect, you know, just deepening your study there. If you're taking a unwise choice, Mars and Neptune together are, oh gosh, if it's not flowing harmoniously, and it's that dissonance that Michael was talking about, it looks like destruction, delusion. This is like the big drunken stupor. So watch yourself on that December 13th time. And it's not just, like Michael said at the beginning, not a finite moment in time and space. It could be a little bit of the flow of that area of time from, say, before December 13th, the 11th, 12th, 13th, on into the 15th, 16th, 17th is possibility for this. So go high path, or good path, red road, as we say. And then right after that, we have Jupiter and Uranus having a trine, so another good flow. And you want to speak to this one?
This one, I think, is a really hopeful energy. Jupiter is the energy of hope and joy and getting into that more blissful state. And Uranus can be, though Uranus is a wild card, Uranus has to do with awakening or coming into a stroke of genius and using your higher self to see things. So this can be a time of breakthroughs and visioning with clarity what the future might look like. And if we put these together, Jupiter being expanded consciousness, and with that stroke of genius, like I said, you may have this higher idea of, this is the direction we're going. This is the way the vision quest is supposed to go. This is the unfolding of my hero or heroine's journey. And even though it's a trine, which is harmonious, just still be aware that the shadow side of these energies, too much Jupiter, as we said before, is over indulgence, too much. So being overly optimistic, too much thinking that everything's Pollyanna, and then on the other side of Uranus, it's a spanking. And so it's getting too far out of bounds, and Uranus gives you that lightning strike to get back inbound so that you're following the right path.
So, spanking's kind of a harsh term, but it'll look like, why did this happen to me? Why did this? I just got this bill. I just got this parking ticket. I just got this. Ha. And it's this combination of energy coming together for your highest good. It's not to be mean, or the universe is not trying to punish us randomly. Anything that comes to us in the form of correction is for our highest good. So this happens, this trine happens on December 15th, and it will last for quite a while because these are two big outer slow-moving planets. So this isn't just something that'll be like 4 or 5 days long. This is going to be an influence throughout most of the year of 2020.
Yeah. And I would take stock in it now as we're approaching December 15th. We're already in the energy. It's like the approach of spring, couple days or weeks before you start to feel it. So use this time to start visioning.
To me, this is really a positive energy for the collective, because if all of us are individually working in this energy, the expanded consciousness of our own self, and using our own strokes of geniusness that comes through us, great ideas for how we can help the collective. Great ideas how we can expand healthcare problems and education problems, and we get these wild, crazy, good, beautiful ideas, and that it's for the good of the whole. So I'm excited about this energy flavoring 2020. Okay, after that, we go back to our Venus girl, because she's been in Capricorn as many planets are in Capricorn. Jupiter just moved into Capricorn, and after being almost a year in Sagittarius. So it just took a little step into Capricorn. We also have Saturn, Pluto, the South Node, Mercury.
Mercury will be there soon, and the Sun will be there soon.
And both coming in, and Venus is there, but on December 19th she's going to move into the sign of Aquarius, so she's going to take on a new flavor. Self-love and love is going to take on a new energy. It's been in Capricorn, which is about get it done, and then it's going to move into Aquarius, which is more of the collective, the good of the whole. How can we use innovative, revolutionary, evolutionary ideas to bring some spark and invention into the collective? So I'm looking forward to that, because that goes into alignment with that last aspect of Jupiter and Uranus being in a trine. Big shift for the good of the whole, potentially. You can also say, though, Venus energy moving into Aquarius, the shadow side of that could be de-evolving, more selfishness, more breeding of fear and anxiety. Aquarius is really electrical energy, and that can show up as anxiety and feeling fearful and afraid and frenetic. And we don't want to let ourselves individually get like that, because that puts it into the collective energy as well. So just be mindful as we shift, as she shifts, to let your love not go into a place of fear, but to stay in this higher power of loving. Trust yourself, loving energy. And then we come into December 21st, which is winter solstice, and the sun will move into the sign of Capricorn, as you said. You want to speak about solstice?
Mm-hmm. The solstice is part of what we call seasonal astrology, things that happen at a regular time each year, or the change of the seasons. It's when the sun enters Capricorn, and the sun, if we talk physically, has traveled as far north as it will travel. And on solstice, sol means sun, stis is the Greek word to stop. Sun stops for a moment, and then it starts to head south towards the equator, and the days start to get longer. But on solstice, it's the darkest night of the year. It's calling us to go inward, and contrary to the way we spend our time in the Western world with Christmas and all the different holidays that happen, is this time where we're going out and spending money and expending resources and doing things. Nature is going in and dropping down and reflecting and becoming quiet. You look to what the rabbits are doing, and the leaves have fallen off the trees, and it's a short day and it's a long night.
So solstice is a good time for that reflection of self. Just as a little plug, we're doing a winter solstice ceremony for free here at Karma Yoga Center on the 21st from 1 to 2 o'clock. If you'd like to come set intention for the ceremony or the solstice, come to our ceremony at that time, and we'll put some blessings into the ether for sure. But as Michael said, the sun will be moving into Capricorn. So just like Venus moved into Aquarius, shifting a sign, the sun has been in Sagittarius, and now it's going to take on that new flavor of Capricorn. And Capricorn is the let's get things done. And again, it's for the collective. The collective energy is the predominant factor there, more than for the self. But if you get you, then you can better get everybody else. So take what is good for the collective as medicine for the self too. When the sun is in its highest vibration and where you're in full expression of yourself, you're radiant, you have a glow, you're charismatic, and what you're offering in that radiance and glow is for the good of the whole. There's a medicine to you. When you're in a lower vibration, your sun energy looks like an insecure self, which can show up as arrogance. Arrogance is a form of insecurity. And so as you transition on that solstice day, the 21st, with the sun, you're transitioning with the sun, let yourself step into that assertive, powerful Capricorn energy. What else would you say about Capricorn?
Capricorn is about where you have determination and integrity in your chart. And if you are aligned, if you remember back to Pluto in our chart, with your soul's purpose, and it's done with love, Capricorn energy is, it's very satisfying and fulfilling. It's where you step into your soul's purpose, and the daily work that you do towards doing that feels in right way. It feels like it nourishes you like the roots of a tree. If you want to understand Capricorn energy, go stand next to a tree in wintertime, give a big hug to its branch. It's rooted, it's solid, it knows where it's going, it's clear.
Well said, I like that. I'm going to go hug a tree. Okay, so then just a couple more aspects. We've got another square. So as I mentioned at the beginning, it's kind of like stop and go energy. This is going to be a stop sign, a stop energy. And Venus and Uranus on the 22nd, so the day after solstice, are going to come into a square to each other or challenge each other's energies. And again, Uranus is that stroke of genius. When it's in its highest vibration, you get those epiphanies, revelations, a great idea coming through. Or it can be that lightning bolt jolt that feels like a spanking. And Venus, again, is that love or fear energy. So the squaring of it, the stroke of genius to your love or your self-love, the challenge is stop and think. And when you do, going back to our theme, choose wisely. What can I do when I'm forced to stop and think and get innovative and have some stroke of genius about how to better nurture, care for, love myself and others? When we're at that same stop sign, if we're in our shadow energy of this connection or aspect, we might feel like we get a spanking for our selfishness, or our selfishness ends up giving us the spanking. That might be the turnabout is fair play there. So just be aware that too much of a good thing, because remember that underlying flavor for a while too is Chiron, our wounds, and also squaring Uranus. The wound, our little wounds might be coming up, and it might lend itself a little bit towards some of that shadow energy of Uranus. So rise above it, heal the wounds with the love at this time. Don't let a square be causing more fear.
Don't become a square.
Don't become a square, but let this square or stop sign make you really pause for a moment and make some right choices. Okay, and then we have another square. We have Sun and Chiron squaring on December 23rd. So as we're marching towards Christmas Eve and Christmas itself, these two have a square to each other. So oftentimes Christmas Day, we're with family, we're with friends. Not always is it easy to be in large groups or even small intimate groups. And our wounds come up, our insecurities come up, our resentments come up. And so Chiron squaring Sun is another stop sign saying, let's pause and make a wise choice here of what we could do at this particular stop or squaring of the energies. And when you are at that stop sign, let your radiant self be a healer in that situation, either to yourself, healing yourself, continuing on that, or helping to be that healer in the family situation or in that intimate situation on the outer realm of yourself. The other side of it is that you could go into insecurity and victimization with this square. That could be what shows up on that 23rd. And remember, around those days, so around the holiday time, and victimization is really easy role for us to go into martyrdom, playing small, or even just feeling small and feeling our wounds coming up again, and go the high route. Be the healer of the self and be your radiant self if you can get that Capricorn energy and determination and do it. Okay, so then the last little one that we want to talk about is there's a little special energy on Christmas Day. It's a new moon on Christmas Day, and it's also an angular solar eclipse.
Right. Usually we wait to talk about the next moon cycle for the next report, but it's important to mention the eclipse now. Eclipse energies, at least in the wisdom of astrology weather, they start approaching long before the actual eclipse, because where eclipses happen in the sky are called the node points, and they're energies of the past and future. This eclipse is happening on the node of the past. And so we are approaching towards it now in Capricorn. All of these planets that are already there are influencing this. On a side note, Jupiter will be right there with this eclipse, so that magnifies its energy. Jupiter expands things. You won't be able to see the eclipse here in Northern America. It will be after sunset, but it will be felt all around the world. And as Katrina said, it's an annular, which is the Greek word for ring. It means circular. The moon will be inside of the sun, so at totality of the eclipse, there'll be a golden ring around the dark moon. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but eclipse season brings in intensity, and it's seeking to end something or cut. That's what the word eclipse means from the past.
And it's in that sign of Capricorn, so as Michael said, that's like determination and getting things done. And as we're approaching, I personally like to make my New Year's resolutions around the solstice, so we're in the juice of it there between solstice and New Year's Day. This is a good time to make some cuts and some determinations and some stick-to-itiveness intentions for this coming year 2020 and kind of set the tone around it. And you have that party in Capricorn again with the South Node, the past, so you can let go of some things that haven't been good. The energy is really strong for that. Jupiter's going to help put some emphasis to that. Saturn's in there. It's going to help you to be in that judicious, wise self, using your energy wisely for that. And Pluto's going to be in there, so it's going to be helping you determine your soul's purpose for that. And Mercury is going to be in there at that time, and it's going to be helping you to make, to assimilate all that information and use it in right expression. And who am I missing? There's one, Mars won't quite be there yet.
It's still a pretty big party.
It's a big party in Capricorn on Christmas. So that's a positive aspect, I believe, for the final big new moon day on Christmas. All right, and I think that's all we have. That's a lot. We'll wrap it up by reminding you of our theme, choose wisely, take the high vibration path. And if you are around on New Year's Day, another event that we have is our New Year's Day yoga and vision board class. And that fills up pretty quickly, so if you're interested, please get a pre-registration in. But we do yoga, some gentle yoga asana to help us open our body. We set intention, get into our mind stuff, and we open our heart to hear what that intention is, and then we have a lot of fun cutting and pasting out all the things we'd like to put on our vision board for 2020, and 2020 is quite the year. I'm looking forward to that next report that we do that projects into what's coming up for that next astrological aspects for the Shaman and the Mermaid.
Thanks, yogis, and if you want to go to Greece, July 1st through 8th, we'll be taking a retreat there. More information below.
All right, thanks.
Namaste.